Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of tutorials on the muscles of the thigh. So the muscles of the thigh are arranged into three compartments. You've got an anterior compartment, medial and posterior compartment, and these are separated by intermuscular septa. So the anterior compartment is known as the extensor compartment, the medial compartment is known as the adductor compartment, and you've got the posterior compartment, which is the extensor compartment. So these various different compartments have different actions on the hip and knee joints, and the different compartments are supplied by different nerves. So the anterior compartment here is supplied by the femoral nerve, the medial compartment is supplied mainly by the obturator nerve, and the posterior compartment of the thigh is supplied by the sciatic nerve. So in this first part of the tutorial I'm going to talk about the anterior compartment of the thigh. So this is this group of muscles here anteriorly in the thigh, obviously, and these muscles are supplied by the femoral nerve, and you've got 5 muscles in this compartment. You've got the 4 large quadriceps femoris muscles, and then you've also got the sartorius muscle. As well as these muscles, you've also got the terminal ends of 2 muscles here, so the iliacus and psoas major, so you can see them superiorly here in the anterior compartment, the terminal ends of these 2 muscles. So I'll show you these muscles now. So we'll just take a look at the iliopsoas muscles. So the iliopsoas muscles are the psoas major and the iliacus. So collectively the iliacus and psoas are known as the iliopsoas muscles. So the iliacus muscle is this muscle here, and it inserts onto the lesser trochanter of the femur together with the psoas major muscle. So this is the psoas major muscle here, and they have this common insertion point on the lesser trochanter of the femur. So the iliopsoas and the iliacus muscle are collectively referred to as the iliopsoas muscles. So you can see here I've just highlighted the iliacus and psoas major muscle, so you can see the origin and insertion a bit more clearly. So here you can see the psoas major muscle originating on the sides of the vertebral bodies in the transverse processes and the intervertebral discs, and it originates from the vertebral bodies from T12 down to L5, and then you can see its insertion on the lesser trochanter of the femur, and also the iliacus muscle, which sits in the iliac fossa, and then inserting in the same place on the lesser trochanter. So what these muscles do is that they flex the hip, flex the thigh at the hip joint. Okay, so the next group of muscles in the anterior compartment are the quadriceps femoris muscles. So you've got 4 muscles in this group. You've got the rectus femoris muscle, and you've got the 3 vastus muscles. So you've got the vastus medialis, lateralis and intermedius, which lies under the rectus femoris muscle. So the rectus femoris muscle is interesting because it originates on the pelvis, so it has action both at the hip joint and at the knee joint, whereas the vastus muscles only act at the knee joint. So the rectus femoris muscle is this muscle here, which lies in the anterior compartment and is the most superficial muscle. So this muscle originates on the pelvis, on the anterior inferior iliac spine, and it's also got another head which is called the reflected head, which isn't shown on this model, but it's reflected back and originates just superior to the acetabular fossa. So there's 2 heads to the rectus femoris muscle. One originates on the anterior inferior iliac spine, and the other is reflected back and originates on the just superior to the acetabulum, and that's called the reflected head. The head that originates on the anterior inferior iliac spine is known as the straight head. So the rectus femoris, along with the vastus muscles, it inserts via the quadriceps tendon onto the patella bone, and the patella then inserts onto the tibia via the patellar ligament. So muscle is attached to bone by tendons, and bone is attached to bone by ligaments. So the quadriceps femoris tendon is this common insertion onto the patella bone, and the patella then inserts onto the tibia via the patellar ligament, or rather is attached to the tibia via the patellar ligament. So because the rectus femoris originates on the pelvis, it flexes the thigh at the hip, whereas the vastus muscles don't do that because they originate on the femur. So we'll just take a look at the vastus muscles. So I'll just get rid of the rectus femoris muscle, and you can see this muscle here sitting laterally. So this is the vastus lateralis, and again it originates on the femur and it inserts onto the patella via the quadriceps femoris tendon. Then medially you've got this teardrop shaped muscle, which is known as the vastus medialis because it sits medially, and this again inserts via the quadriceps femoris tendon onto the patella. And just under the rectus femoris muscle, which I removed, you've got this muscle here, the vastus intermedius. So these three muscles all originate on the femur and insert onto the patella via the quadriceps femoris tendon, and they extend the leg at the knee joint. So the final muscle we have is this muscle here called the sartorius. This is a strap-like muscle which runs from the anterior superior iliac spine all the way down to the medial surface on the proximal tibia. So this is the sartorius muscle, and it acts to flex the thigh at the hip joint and also flex the thigh at the knee joint. So I'll just take a look at it more isolated. So you can see we've got the anterior superior iliac spine here where the sartorius muscle originates, and just below you've got the anterior inferior iliac spine where the rectus femoris muscle originates. And this sartorius winds round obliquely, descending along the thigh to insert on the medial surface of the proximal tibia. So the insertion point here is just anterior to the insertion point of the gracilis and the semitendinosus muscle. So you can see you've got the hamstring muscle here, and you've got the gracilis, so they insert just behind the insertion point of the sartorius muscle. So that's the sartorius. So those are the muscles of the anterior compartment of the thigh. You've got the iliopsoas muscles, you've got the quadriceps femoris muscles, and you've got the sartorius muscle. And the muscles that originate on the pelvic bones have actions at the hip and knee, and the muscles that originate only on the femur only act on the knee joint. So the rectus femoris muscle and the iliopsoas muscles act on the hip, and the quadriceps femoris muscles act at the knee. And these muscles are innervated by the femoral nerve.